very good afternoon to each and every one of you present here. I really hope all of you are safe and sound in this lockdown. Before we start, a short note about SCRO, who we are and what we do. SCRO stands for Student Copter Research Organization, and we are a UAV and aerial drone-based student research team from SRM Institute of Science and Technology, Chennai. We focus on multi-rotor copters and autonomous serial vehicles with the aim of establishing a technical and corporate platform for the growth of autonomous aviation technology and emerging innovation in India and beyond. While focusing on real-world issues, let me walk you through our domains, which are design and fabrication, structural engineering, flight systems, avionics, computer vision, and control systems. Moving on to the webinar, as the title itself makes it pretty clear, this webinar is about a comprehensive coverage of data science and the related fields of artificial intelligence and machine learning. Our honorable speaker for the session is Mr. Vaibhav Vardhan, who is here with us today from his current residence in Ireland. Mr. Vardhan has more than 12 years of experience in data science, machine learning, and artificial intelligence. He holds an MBA along with an engineering background and is a hands-on technical expert with the ability to assimilate and analyze data. He has led multiple engagements in machine learning and artificial intelligence across geographies and across retail, telecom, manufacturing, energy, and utilities. Currently, he resides in Ireland and is employed as principal data scientist. Mr. Vaibhav, it is genuinely an authentic pleasure to have you here with us today. This session aims to equip you with the knowledge and guidance to consolidate your data science career from an industry-level standpoint. Also, as a bonus fact, Mr. Vardhan is often called V by some of his colleagues. That being said, there are some final instructions for all of you. Kindly do not spam the chat box. Keep yourselves muted and your videos turned off. At the end of the session, all of you will be required to fill a feedback form. Keep this in mind that this is essential in order to earn your certificates. With that being said, let's begin with the session. Mr. V, you can take over.
Thank you, Aditya. Thanks a lot. Thank you, SCRO, for having the webinar and inviting me for that. Thanks a lot. It really is a great pleasure and honor for me to talk to all the guys over here. Yeah, I guess most of you are mostly students, maybe in your third year, maybe in your final year of your graduation or post-graduation. Yeah, and let me share my screen first. I'll walk you through what do we have in mind. So, Aita, is my screen visible?
Yes, Vaibhav. Yeah.
Yes,
okay, fantastic. Okay, fair enough. So let's get started. So we are having this webinar on data science and machine learning. What are the applications? What are the opportunities? What the field holds you for in the future? This is the agenda for the webinar. First of all, we understand that what exactly is the data scientist's job, how he or she, what they do in their day-to-day life. Then we'll clear some confusions around the commonly used terms in the market very freely, very loosely: data analysis, data science, machine learning, business intelligence, artificial intelligence. So these terms are, you would have heard them, you would have seen them used very loosely and quite interchangeably. We'll discuss on them. Then we'll come that what sort of background you need if you want to have a career in data related field, not necessarily data science, in terms of data science or data analysis or machine learning or data visualization, what sort of backgrounds required. And then we'll also talk about that, do I need to have a PhD, let's say a statistical background or a PhD background in mathematics if I want to make a career in data science. Then once we have thought through that, we will go into the technical stack, the algorithms that you need, the languages that you need. There will be many questions in your mind, that Python or R, or should I go for ABC courses, or this course is charging me 50,000 bucks, this is charging me 10,000 bucks, it is for 6 months, it is for 1 year, it is a full-time degree, it's an online course, what should I do exactly? And then finally, perhaps the most interesting part will be that how to make a profile so that I can get my interview calls, and how can I convert my interview calls and maybe enhance in my career in data science. Yeah. So that being said, let's get started. So first of all, we'll discuss about what is a data scientist's job and how the fields are related with each other. Okay, it is needless to say, you all of you perhaps know that data is currently being treated as a new oil, new electricity. It is shaping the way business are taking their decisions. Not only business, it is impacting our day-to-day life in terms of the purchase you make at Amazon, at Netflix, at Flipkart, marketplace, the online marketplaces, or let's say whenever you go for a brick and mortar retail experience over there, the way your loyalty points they are used, or the way you make a phone call using your Vodafone's telecom operators of the world, the way your data is generated over there, the way you are making that phone call at what call rate for how many minutes, all of that data, that entire data is getting saved somewhere. Whatever you click, whatever you make purchase, it is getting saved somewhere. And that data, actionable insights. Please mind the word actionable insights. I did not say insights, I said actionable. So the insight has to be um, strong enough for the marketing, CRM, operations, quality, process team of the business, of any business, for them to take any actions, so that what so that they can do either increase the revenue or decrease the profit, increase the revenue or decrease the cost. That is the only two things that are required from any business problem. Either you are increasing the revenue for me, you are increasing the profit for me, or you are reducing the cost for me, you are making me more efficient. So that data is whatever data is generated, that data is used to generate those insights only. We'll look at those use cases again. Yeah, but again, a very imperative thing, uh, a very uh, a very vital aspect which is generally forgotten is the quality of the data. Yeah, and that is why it is always required that the data that we are using is always, the data that is being used is clean. Okay, when I say clean, give me a moment. How can I draw this? Yeah, here, like this. So over here, if you see that, these are the data quality aspects that we're talking about: completeness, validity, accuracy, consistency, integrity, timeliness. I won't spend much time on that, because these terms are quite of self-explanatory. But the quality aspect of data uh, is which drives you towards a final goal. If your data is having junk characters, if in the name field you have numbers, if in the date field you have strings, so, or you have missing values, you have duplicate values, that data cannot be used. That also brings us to the second aspect, which is why data can be divided into the structure which we are showing over here: structured and unstructured. Structured means the regular data which you can represent in a row column architecture, like we can see over here. The unstructured data is all your text data, all your images data, the videos that you upload on YouTube, all the audio files, radio jingles, etc., etc., etc. Your blogs, your SMS, your tweets, reviews, recordings, call center videos, call center audios, all of that is unstructured data, because the data cannot be directly used for making any insights. But again, this data also has to be analyzed. Okay, so that sets the pace, that tells us that what type of what is data, and why data quality and how data quality is important. Now, once we go to our terms, um, how you will use that data. So these terms you would have seen, you'd have read about them: AI, ML, deep learning, data science. So data science lies at the juxtaposition of all of them. Your your neural networks of the world, they are precisely deep learning. Okay. Then comes the classical machine learning. So what I mean by classical machine learning is your regression, your decision trees, your random forest algorithms of the world. Don't worry, we'll again give a sneak peek of that is the machine learning bit. Okay. And then comes AI. Now, AI is not a new field at all. AI has been in existence for many decades, many decades. It is like automating the processes. Artificial intelligence means automating. So the way a human will take an action, the same way, in the similar manner, if a machine has to take an action, that is AI. And that is not dependent on machine learning. That is not dependent on deep learning alone. It is a field in itself which exists for a very long duration. But now, yes, recently in the last 4 or 5 years, with the advent of deep learning, of Keras, TensorFlow, PyTorch of the world, we have seen more traction towards AI now. Yeah. Over here, there are other terms like data analysis, visualization, business intelligence. So if you essentially want to break data or data-led fields, you can say that there is a visualization field, which essentially talks about dashboarding and reporting of the world, right? Over there, you have multiple tools. I'll again give a list of tools later. Then comes data analysis, which is hardcore analysis on the data. I'm not talking about predictive modeling yet. I'm talking about analysis of the data only, right? So using cross checks, using visualizations, using trending, you understand that okay, what is happening across months, what is happening across years, across time duration, across the 24 hours that we have. So uh, is there any anomaly that is over there happening in my business or in my function, and how can I use that information to make better actions, to make better decisions, right? Now, predictive modeling, obviously, as the name suggests, where you want to predict for the future. So your prediction can be which customer is going to shop or not, or is the customer going to churn or not, or is the customer going to buy this particular product or not, or whether this transaction is fraud or not, okay, or how much is my demand going to be, okay. So all those algorithms, all those business use cases, they can be clubbed into different branches. Yeah, we'll see that at a later point. Yeah, okay. But if you compare the domains, the starting point is obviously the data, and the way these domains are structured, they are structured basis the difference between the way we use the data. Yeah, it is the process over here. It represents a typical machine learning project from end to end, where we talk about the very first step is business problem identification, which is before data discovery, right? Right. That is one of the most critical step before over here, right? Then comes your data discovery and data calibration and modeling and delivery. Now, guys, just to set your expectation and let me demotivate you instead of motivating you. Let me please allow me to demotivate you. Your 65 it goes to data discovery and data preparation alone. We do not create a machine learning model every day. We do not create a machine learning model even every month. Machine learning model creation is a costly affair, right? It takes time, it takes efforts, it takes it takes it takes uh, resources. It is a costly, it's an expensive task in itself. So whenever you decide on your data, on your business problem, your data discovery and your data calibration, data preparation, data pre-processing, data cleaning, all of that is going to take at least 70% of time. Then comes modeling. And precisely, modeling is only few steps or few lines of code, because most of the heavy work is already done by the libraries if you want to create a model, right? Your model creation is only a small step, but model interpretation is a big step in itself. It's a big task. So long story short, data discovery and data calibration will define the way in which your model is going to be. They will define the quality of your model. Yeah, your modeling will be a smaller bit, is a smaller bit, and your data, your model interpretation is a very huge task. Please note that does not matter if your model isn't accurate, but if it is not deployed in the production environment, that means if it is not being used for making business predictions, business insights, it is of no use. So what I'm trying to say is a model with 78% accuracy, but being used by the business is much better than a model which is 99% accurate, but not being used. Yeah. So over here, once the model is generated, once the model is created, you have to deploy that also. Yeah. Okay. That being said, let's go to the next step. That what is a data scientist typical job? A data scientist is again a very ill-defined term. If you allow me to say that, it's a very ill-defined term in the current scenario. Some organizations they give a title of data scientist at the very start of the career. Some organizations they give a data scientist career title after 20 years of experience. So the what is it? The skill set also is not very clearly defined. Some say that you have to have a PhD. We don't care that you have a PhD in whatever field, but you have to have a PhD. Some say that no, you have to be only from engineering background or only from statistical background. Then only we'll consider you as a data scientist. In my humble opinion, the very first reason for a data scientist, the very first um, challenge for a data scientist has to be the business solution, right? If the data scientist is able to resolve the business problem, that is the very first thing. Okay. Then obviously there are other technical and expertise skills that are required. Like for example, um, the way to look through the numbers, the way to connect the dots, uh, the way you can use tools and languages to interrogate data and to create and will be able to create strong models around that, right? There is a requirement of statistics, there is a requirement of mathematics, there is a requirement of programming, there is a requirement of storytelling and visualization. There's a need for of soft skills to connect to the business stakeholders, to connect to the to the clients, but again, it is difficult for one person to possess all of the traits, and all of the traits in optimum quantity, and all of the traits in the best possible manner. So don't stress yourself on that, right? Please don't stress yourself on that what algorithm should I know. The number of algorithms that are available are vast, so it is not possible. Yeah. So don't stress yourself on that, please. Yeah. But in general, in a day-to-day language, in a data scientist world, the onus is or the focus is to solve business problems using data. It can be using data analysis, it can be using a predicted model, it can be using a simple visualization, right? The focus is over there. Yeah. Now, what background is required? Yeah. So you do not need a PhD. First of all, you do not need a PhD. Yes, I do agree that students from engineering or mathematics or computer science background or statistics background, they do have a better shot. Not because um, I think that they are more intelligent or they have a better grasp. No. The only reason is that, let's say, from computer science background, they have um, gone through, let's say, some programming basics during their BCAs, BTechs, MTechs of the world. That is the only reason. Apart from that, that is a sort of a head start that they have. That's it. But that does not mean that if you are, let's say, from a literature background, or you are from a chemistry background, or you are from any other background, you cannot enter the field. In fact, there are many. I myself, I'm from mechanical engineering background, and after that, did my business MBA. So there is that nobody else can enter this field, right? The only thing is that you have to be patient. You have to have that preparation for you. You have to have that mindset. But that being said, please note that data science is not the only field. If you are if you want to enter data science just for the sake of entering it, please do not do that. So let's say if you enjoy working on .NET, please pursue a career in .NET. .NET is a fantastic language. It has very great career ahead, right? Or let's say even by software engineering alone, if you want to, let's say, pursue a career in accounting, right? In as a CA, as a chartered accountant, please do that. If you want to, if you want to make a career in research, please go ahead. If you want to make a career in any other field, like maybe acting or singing or dancing or whichever profession step you want to take, please go ahead. Data science is not the only field. Machine learning is not the only field. Yes, please. Yeah. Yes, it is becoming one of the very fast moving field, but it is not the only field. Okay. Okay. Now, perhaps interesting point for you, that what should I know? How many algorithms should I know? Yeah. What should I know? What should I don't know? So first of all, your skills matter. Tools are only a mean. Like for example, it is like uh, if you want to become a chef, should not be assessed by how the chef is good in with different type of knives or with different types of cuisines, in a particular genre. In my humble opinion, if a chef is there, how the chef can make a good dish out of whatever available ingredients he or she have, with the available amount of resources they have, with the available amount of time they have, right? So over here, though we have listed in terms of the fields of data engineering, data analysis, machine learning, visualization, and cloud services, these tools which are quite popular in the market, which you would have seen that a part of multiple job descriptions. Up many HR people would have asked you about that. Okay, do you know SAS, or do you know R, or do you know Python, or do you know Tableau, or SQL or not? These are only the tools. A regression problem will give a regression problem will be getting the same result, be it R or be it Python, be it Julia, be it SAS, the results will be same. A visualization across Tableau or Click will be no different. The look and feel, the ambience might be a bit different. The color combination might be less vibrant in one, maybe more vibrant in another. But the end goal, the end result will not be much different. So these are the tools which you should know. Not all of them is not possible for one to know. So my request, my suggestion will be that pick and choose one of them. Okay, so if I have to make a choice for you, I'll go for SQL. SQL has been in place for many decades and will be in place for decades to come, because SQL is the base. It is like the rock solid foundation on which everything is sitting. So SQL you should know. It is easier to understand SQL. There are multiple online tutorials for that. Please start with SQL. Okay. Excel, Microsoft Excel is required. The reason is because it is still the most widely used tool across enterprise, across businesses, across, be it a small 10 employee organization to a giant 100,000 employees organization. Everywhere Excel is used. Everywhere SQL is used. So these two things, these two, SQL and SQL, you should know. Then when it comes to the languages, R or Python or VEC or SPS or whatever, um, these languages, few of them uh, are open source like Python and R. Few of them, they are paid like SPSS or SAS. So my request will be that you can go with either Python or R because they are open source, and there are multiple tutorials for that. Same goes for visualization. Pick a tool from here and you can get the university editions, the free versions for them, and you can at least get started on that. There are ample of YouTube videos available for you to use, yeah, free of cost. Okay, cloud services again, like Google, it does allow you to use the Google Collaboratory if you want to train your models. So again, that is free. So go for, let's say, one of them, yeah, and try to use as much as open source material which is available to you. Okay, these are the uh, the broad categorization of algorithms. And perhaps for you, tip for the interviews over here, this makes this generates more interest, that when we have the algorithms like supervised learning, unsupervised learning, semi-supervised learning, then for supervised learning you have regression and classification. So regression means that if you want to predict value of a variable, of a continuous variable, that what is my number of customers going to be, or number of my demand, let's say in tons, going to be. Okay, so wherever you want to predict the value of a number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yeah. Classification means that where you want to predict that whether an event will happen or not, whether customer will come or not, whether the transaction is fraud or not, whether yes, no, success, failure, all of that. Then you have unsupervised learning and semi-supervised learning algorithms, which do not have a target in mind. Like for unsupervised learning, you want the algorithm to understand and detect the patterns. Yeah? And over here, a sort of list, not an exhaustive list. It is not an exhaustive list of the algorithms, but major list of the algorithms. So for the interviews, prepare at least one supervised learning, one supervised classification, one supervised classification, one unsupervised learning project, and review how will you measure the performance of all the algorithms. Because in data science interviews, most often you are going to ask that, can you walk me through one project which you are really proud of, or can you walk me through one project in data science and machine learning which you have done? So yes, I understand that you are not working right now, some of you, but at least there are ample projects on Kaggle which you can work upon, and you can work through one project end to end. Okay, and that the same project you can walk through during your interviews. Yeah. So that Kaggle discussion, that Kaggle point brings me to the next question: that how can you make your profile? So these skills are required. These skills, you might be strong on one, you might be weak on some. That's okay. You might be, your ML concepts might not be that much strong right now because you're learning. That is perfectly understandable. But at the same time, self-starter, what it means is that you can you can start, you can at least give it a try. You don't need a catalyst, you don't need a manager to poke you at why don't you start on this, at least do something. Yeah. Programming, again, programming is not confined to Python or R or SAS only. Programming over here refers to the acumen to program. The way, I mean, if you're a dexterous programmer in Java, I'm sure you will be able to cope up with R very soon, right? So programming is not limited to a language only. Yeah, it's obviously if you are working on Python and you are taking the position Python only, it is an advantage. I don't disagree over there, or I agree. But programming concept should be clear to you. Yeah. Over here, we are also referring to soft skills. Now, guys, this part, soft skill part is very, very, it's very uh, imperative. It's very vital over here. Nobody can teach you that. If you say that, okay, I'll take a communication class and I'll be able to communicate well, no, it's not going to happen in a shorter span of time, right? Um, you have to work iteratively. You have to work patiently towards it. Then only you will be able to generate. You will be able to make yourself effective enough for these soft skills. But all these three skills together, they are required in optimum proportions to make a successful career ahead. So some of you who are starting the careers, you can start with maybe you will not have any domain knowledge. Let's say if some of you who let's say started who will start, let's say in a telecom industry, you do not have enough domain knowledge of telecom, but you will get with the years to come, you will get enough understanding of telecom. Let's say same goes for insurance, same goes for BFSI, same goes for sorry banking, same goes for retail, right? One question or one trait which is always required is accountable, or you can say ownership. If you can own the project, if you can own the use case, if you can own the analysis, and the manager, the team lead, they do not have to bug you every time that where are you, where is the update on that, then that trait will take you forward in a long term. Yeah. Okay. But technical skills, they are your bread and butter. And over there, I would request you to focus on SQL at the start, right? With Excel and a language. For machine learning concepts, there are n number of courses available. Like for example, on Coursera and Udemy's of the world, there are n number of courses available for you. Yeah. Okay. Profile is required in today's world. LinkedIn, Kaggle, Git, Stack Overflow. You know that, right? You have to create blogs on Data Science Central, on Medium, create videos on and upload on YouTube's, go to meet some conferences, generate your network. On Kaggle, you will find multiple use cases and multiple competitions which are running. Participate in them, right? I think Analytics Vidya, they recently released a competition. TechGeek, they launched competitions and hackathons. Participate in them. I understand that you will be starting at the bottom of the ladder at the start, but slowly, you will raise to the top. And most importantly, all that code has to be checked into your GitHub profile. Look, ultimately, your CV is a reflection of yours, right? So that CV you can uh, make stronger with your digital profile. At the same time, few other uh, rudimentary tips. Please be prudent while you choose your email IDs and your login IDs. Uh, cool dude is not a good email ID to use. I've seen many students using that, right? Or like Webho the ultimate dude. So please avoid using such email IDs, right? Make a professional looking email ID, make a professional looking CV with having no spelling or grammatical mistakes, having a constant font that reflects your preparation, right? And make a strong digital profile on LinkedIn, on GitHub, on Kaggle. Because if somebody has to search for you, they should know that okay, this person at least had a head start in data science and in machine learning, and he or she they knows at least the basic, right? And your GitHub profile will reflect that level of maturity you have in your coding. Your your blogs will reflect your business acumen or your approach to solve a problem, right? So have a good digital footprint, please. Network, period. This is the most important trait for you to success, because data science field in itself is evolving still. You do not know uh, the HR representative you are networking with, or the data science leader you are networking with, or maybe a team lead you are networking with over LinkedIn, or you are uh, chatting over phone or over a video conference. what can what it can lead to in future, it can lead to multiple avenues for you, multiple educational experiences for you, right? You can become a part of their team, or they might recommend you to someone else. I cannot uh, go into details, because networking is one of the I mean, there's no dearth of words which emphasize the importance of networking, particularly in this era where we have lockdowns and where we do have economies which are currently shut down, right? So you do have the webinars, you do have the digital tools to network to people and to get in touch with them. Yeah. So there is no shortcut. There is no shortcut. But at the same time, you have to be patient. That is a very important trait which you will have to generate in yourself. There is no shortcut. There is no silver bullet that if I do ABC course, if I let's say complete this course which is of 3 months and then will I get a job? Nobody can guarantee that. At the same time, if you do not do that course, then also you can have a successful career. There is no denying that fact, right? The idea is that start from somewhere. Start, let's say start from a course on Udemy, or start a course on Coursera, or start going through a blog, or let's say start from a GitHub link, right? Start from a YouTube video. So there are multiple videos available from Stanford, from MIT, from Oxford, from IITs, from triple ITs of the world for free, available at YouTube. Start from there, right? And in parallel, start creating your profile. In parallel, start start going to those meetups and conferences. Currently, they are virtual, but once everything opens, they will be again in person. So start interacting with people, start creating your skills, start polishing them. Okay, and you have to be a step ahead. When I say a step ahead, you have to be proactive in your uh, in all your planning, in all your execution, and you have to be very much um, you have to be very much um, perseverant about the fact that it is not a day's job. It is not even a week's job. It won't take, I mean, not even 2 months or 3 months. It will take good amount of 8 months to 1 year to have some grasp of concepts. Okay, maybe 8 months before you can start to expect some interview calls. But once you do that, guys, once you do that, then there is no looking back. Once you do that, once you take that first step, then there is no looking back. Then your career will be on a good track. But a very important point is that you would have to continuously improve, you would have to continuously learn and unlearn things. Like for example, Keras, TensorFlow, they were not in existence in 2010. Now they are everywhere. Maybe in 2 years hence, some will hit the market. Then what else? Then you would have to learn that new library. You would have to unlearn few older libraries. But that being said, your your uh, your basics of data science, of data analysis and machine learning, they will stand rock solid. So clearer concepts, clearer foundation, and make a career ahead. And networking is the key for that. Yeah. So with that, if you have any questions, please feel free to shoot. Thank you all. Over to you, Aditya.
Yeah, with this, okay, thank you, sir. Now we'll move on to the question and answer session. So if you have any questions about this webinar, feel free to type it and send it on the chat box. An added note here is, as a moderator, I will recognize your question and relay it to Mr. Vaibhav. Kindly note that due to time constraints, only relevant questions will be taken up, and also will prefer questions which will tend to be more or less common for everybody else here. So please shoot ahead with the questions. All right, sir. So we have our first question. It's a particularly interesting question, which is that I'll just rephrase it for the sake of everybody here. We have a lot of questions. So we'll take up the first question, which is that to make a successful career in data science, apart from technical hands-on, what are the soft skills or the corporate skills that one would require?
Okay, so let me go back to the, these are the soft skills you're talking about. Look, in your corporate day-to-day life, you have to talk to the stakeholders. You would have to talk to the managers, the product owners, the marketing team, the quality team, the operations team. So you would have to understand the domain first of all, that you will gather over a period of time. You should have a storytelling attitude, connecting the dots and presenting the analysis or the machine learning model in such a way so that they can understand and they can comprehend that. They do not care about, honestly, they do not care about your precision recalls and the KPIs or the statistics jargons of the world. Ultimately, for the business, the important point is it making business sense to me? Is it allowing me to reduce the cost and increase the profit? That's it.
All right. Sir, we'll go ahead to the next question. It's a really interesting question. And I think it is relevant for all of us here. So the question is, in a country like India, where equal access to learning resources is a bit difficult for a lot of people, data science training and courses and programs in data science and artificial intelligence are not affordable or feasible for everyone.
That's right.
So how can the average Indian data scientist or the aspirant overcome this problem or tackle this problem?
Okay. So that is, I think it is Ajay, right? Who like you asked the question. That's a very correct question. Ajay, first of all, there are ample of resources available online for free. If you go to YouTube, you will find Stanford has given all the shared the recorded sessions, and from none other Professor Andrew Ng, the creator of Coursera. So his videos, they are available for free on YouTube. Not only his videos, there is one more Professor Fefeli, right? Her videos are available because I have gone through those two videos. They are available for free. Same goes for your AI or AI videos across CNN's networks and your recurrent networks. All of those videos are available for free. First thing. Second thing, GitHub is again free. All the codes are available on GitHub for free. Google Colab is free. You can train your model on Google Colab, right? If you do not have an access to a very 128 gig of RAM and terabytes of memory, so you can use Google Colab for free, right? So these are the other free tools and resources available. Please feel free to use them. Okay, then all your blogs that are available on Medium, on Data Science Central, or KD Nuggets. Yes, I understand that most of them might not be relevant or most of them might not be useful, right? But still, quite a few of them are good. You would have to shaft your way through them, right? But I cannot say that the YouTube videos and the GitHub links, they are not useful. They are very useful for you. Yeah. Yes, please.
All right, sir. So there is another question. It's a slightly technical oriented question, and I think it is worth taking this up. So the question is that when one starts with data science, other than the mathematical and statistical background required, one has two pathways majorly for programming. So one of them is Python and the other is R. So as a beginner, which one should a person choose and how should they make this choice?
Okay, so that is a age-old debate between Python and R. So both are good languages. Both are very heavily used across industries. So I won't take a political standpoint. I will give you a straightforward answer. But first of all, both are equally good languages. They are heavily used across industries. Both are open source. They are very well supported by libraries and packages and modules. But recently, Python has sort of started to take a lead over there, precisely because the AI frameworks of Keras, TensorFlow, etc., they are mostly in Python. That is why Python has started to lead over there. That is one reason. Secondly, Python, it can be used for for other purposes where like for example, scripting. Python can be used over there too. I'm sorry, maybe I don't have an experience over there to comment on that, but uh, recently Python has started to lead the race. Let me say that. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So there's a question. It's also particularly interesting, and we'll also go ahead with this. The question goes something like this: that what are the challenges and setbacks that can happen in the process of working in data science?
The very first challenge is that you will not get data. Right? If you're like we discussed over there at the start that your 70% of the time will go to data discovery and data cleaning phase only. So if you want to create a model every day, no, we don't create models every day. Your 70% of the time will go to into data collection, data discovery, into cleaning the junk data, making it into a format which can be used for a further analysis. That is the biggest challenge, and a bigger challenge than that is having a concise business problem. Like for example, if I give you a business problem that I want to double the revenue, it cannot be a business problem. It is not achievable, right? If I tell you that, okay guys, so let's reduce the cost by 50% in the next 1 month, it is not a possibility, right? So having a concise, concrete and defined business problem is one of the big challenges over there. The second one is having a good data source available for you. Yeah.
So there's another question. This question is something that is really that will really strike all of us evenly because all of us are facing it, and I feel it's very good that somebody brought up this question. Do you think that data science and machine learning can help assist governments, researchers, and healthcare policymakers in a time like this, in a time where the coronavirus pandemic is going on and increased data sets and better contact tracing is the need of the hour? So what is your take on
That's right.
this?
That's right. And it is when we are talking about that, it is making that impact because currently, you know, the uh, the healthcare organization of the world, they are trying to make a fix, a drug for coronavirus. The government agencies, which area to focus upon. So let's say out of the geography of India, let's say is where should I start the testing for coronavirus? Which city can I start with? In a city, which which locality, which ward should I focus upon at the start? Okay, which type of which profile of patients they have more prone of facing death from coronavirus or more prone of getting infected, and how that entire insights, that analysis, that modeling can or is impacting the policymakers. Because ultimately, if you want to make a policy for the next 30 days, next 60 days, next 90 days, you will be doing a benchmarking across countries. So let's say if somebody has to make a policy in India, they can benchmark with let's say with Europe, with the states, with Brazil, with Russia. They can compare over there and then say that, okay, over there we observe the peak after ABC days. So over here we can observe a peak after maybe a peak after PQR days. And how can we mitigate the spread? That is one factor. AI, artificial intelligence, it can be used to identify that if a person is wearing a mask or not. The visual recognition, the facial recognition of that. Okay, having a face wearing a face mask or not, or are people following the social distancing or not? So it is surely allowing the policymakers and the government agencies to remain a step ahead of the game. Yeah.
Okay. So all the participants are really enthusiastic here, and it's great to see everybody being so responsive. But kindly note that we cannot take all questions here. We'll take only specific questions which can be answered only in the scope of this webinar. And other than that, there's another interesting question. We'll be taking up the last few questions now. So this question goes something like this: that everybody's pursuing data science as a career, and this thing is trending nowadays. It's a buzzword. So how does one stand out from the crowd? How does one set himself apart in this big forest of data science?
Perfect. That's a very good question. I think Anirudh, thanks for asking this question. So it is correct that currently data science is in fashion. Machine learning is in fashion right now. Anirudh, to stand out from the crowd, okay, you have to, these steps which we discussed over there, uh, you know, yeah, that is one way that will give you a niche from at least 80%, 90% of the people. If you have your own blogs, if you have a GitHub link, if you have a YouTube channel, if you have your presence across meetups and hackathons and conferences, yeah, that is one way that will obviously give you um a standout from the crowd, but not from everyone. Then you start maybe creating a product of your own. Like for example, let's say you chose, I'm talking about 5 years down the line. You chose I want to work on audio data only, and you start creating a product of your own. Maybe in 2 years, 3 years of time, you will create a MVP, a POC of the product. The minimum viable product. Where let's say you want to simply say that whenever we a voice is heard, recognize the voices and tell me the emotions, happy or sad or joy or laughing or all of that. Yeah. So that will give you a niche uh, skill set, a generalist data scientist, and then you can develop a niche like a T-shape architecture. So let's say if you chose, I want to work on text data alone, fair enough. You can become an expert on text data or an expert on images or an expert on videos. Like that you can become, you can stand out from the crowd of data scientists.
All right, sir. Sir, so we'll be shortly closing the floor for questions.
Yeah.
Is there any question, sir, that you feel you wish to answer that you have a preference for? Or then we'll have one
Okay.
last question.
Yes, please. So, I don't have a question. I just have a suggestion to all of you that guys, be patient. Uh, the cliche of Rome was not built in a day. Be patient over there. Give it time. Don't rush things. Don't think that okay, there's no silver bullet. There is no pill that if I go through a course in a span of 1 month, 2 months, and I will start my career. No, it will take time. But I'm not saying that it'll take 3 years, but it won't take 3 days also. It will take some time. So be patient, please. Be positive in life. That is the most important. My takeaway or my message to you. Be patient and be positive. And again, data science is not the only field. It is one of the fields. Yes, please. Aditya, yes, please. Take the last question, please.
All right, sir. So, sir, we'll be closing the floor for questions. So, since we have covered most of it at the end, we have a small fun question from SCRO, from Team SCRO. It's an imaginative question, and it's to lighten the thing up. So, this question is for you, and it goes like, sir, do you think artificial intelligence in the coming future will get sufficiently advanced that it will take over the age-old sci-fi question that everywhere is occurring in front of us? What do you think about that, sir?
I don't think so. That is not. I mean, at least. I mean, there are organizations like Boston Dynamics. I think Boston Dynamics is the correct name, where they have created the robots which can think to a certain extent, right? Uh, let me answer in this question in two ways, Aditya. So first of all, is a fear that can AI or can machine learning can eat the traditional jobs? Yes, it is doing that to a certain extent, but and that is a change factor which has happened over decades. So if you remember in 70s or 80s when computers was not there, railway reservations were being done by hand. Then computers took, then internet came, and then now you can do a reservation from a mobile phone. So that is a change that we do witness. If you talk about 1995, 1996, where Walkmans were there, right? Sony Walkmans they used to rule the world. Then iPods came, and Sony Walkmans were washed away from the market. 2005 or 6, and during that time period only, we saw that iPhones and iPads application creation organizations, the startups, they mushroomed up across the entire businesses, right? To create the gains, to create the applications. So it is a phase which is again there. So AI and machine learning, they do have a very strong future in my humble opinion, but at the same time, human intervention or human emotions or human intelligence can be, at least in my opinion, it is still a very far away, where machines can replicate the same level of intelligence. At least I think not in my lifetime. It is possible, I might be wrong. But as a student, I would request all of you to to pay keen attention to that, because even if you are not making a career in data science or machine learning, data is impacting our life. Data is impacting our medical history. It is impacting the way we make our shopping, the way we book our flight tickets, the way we make our hotel reservations. So it is impacting us. But to answer your question, Aditya, I think still it is a long way to go.
Okay, sir, that is extremely satisfactory. So now we have finally come to the delightful end of what I can only call a wonderful and a remarkable session. It was really informative. Mr. Vaibhav, thank you so much for sharing your valuable time here today. And I think I speak for all of us present here in this webinar when I say that your presentation and content was absolutely brilliant and will help a lot of us here today. A warm and humble vote of thanks to everyone present here. Your presence and participation has meant a lot to SCRO, and do stay tuned for more such interesting and different endeavors in the future. Mr. Vaibhav, thank you once again from all of us.
Thank you all. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful career ahead. Stay safe, and be patient again, guys. Be positive. There are, you will face few failures. Everyone faces failures. Don't worry about that. Failures are a part of life. Don't be disheartened. It is going to be an interesting journey ahead. You have just started on that. There will be peaks and troughs. There will be ups and downs. They are a part of life. Don't worry on that. Yes, please. With that, all the best to you. And Aditya, my request to you will be that please share the webinar link with with
sure,
the participants.
Sure.
And with me too, please. Yeah. So
okay.
Thank you, SCRO. Thank you, Aditya. Thank you, Chandru. Thank you all for inviting me, and have a wonderful time ahead. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Take care.
Thank you.